This video was brought to you by our Patreon backers, like Marlo D. Find out more and support the channel by clicking the link below. Recent years have seen 2 EU member states challenge the liberal norms which seemed fundamental to the European Union. Hungary especially has been undergoing a process known as democratic backsliding. With a substantial majority, Fidesz rolled back a number of checks and balances. At the time, the EU didn't act forcefully, but things are changing. So much so that at least one European leader is now actively advocating for Hungary to reconsider its position in the European club. So in this video, we'll take a look at what's led up to this point, and whether Hungary will be kicked out of the European Union anytime soon. The straw that's broken the camel's back is the new anti-LGBTQ+ law, passed by Hungary's parliament. We say anti-LGBTQ+, but the actual law didn't originally contain any provisions covering sexuality. Rather, when first put forward, the bill was meant to tackle paedophilia. According to Telex, the bill was actually sparked by a controversy involving Hungary's ambassador to Peru. The ambassador was, in an investigation led by the United States, found to have nearly 20,000 indecent images of minors on his computer, yet he only received a €1,500 fine and a suspended sentence. Orbán's ruling Fidesz party pledged to reform the law and come down harder on paedophiles, which is what the original law did. The first draft of the bill created a national sex offender register, raised penalties for such crimes, and introduced new aggravated cases where the individual, for instance, held public office. So far, so good, right? Well, the issues occurred when Orbán's MPs began to submit amendments, most notably a ban on schools promoting homosexuality or sex reassignment. Specifically, when it comes to educating students on sexual culture, sex life, sexual preferences, and sexual development, schools are forbidden to promote deviation from the identity corresponding with one's sex assigned at birth, sex reassignment, or homosexuality. The amendments also restricted who could even deliver sex education classes to government-registered organisations, and heavily restricted ads containing LGBTQ+ content. Campaigners argue that the way the law is currently formatted and its prohibition of promoting LGBTQ+ content means that even TV shows and films featuring gay characters or even a rainbow flag would be prohibited before the watershed. A Hungarian free-to-air TV channel has already stated that it may have to change its schedule such that showings of some Harry Potter films and episodes of Friends only occur after 10 p.m. This specific move comes after several other moves to limit or otherwise dilute liberal norms in the country. For instance, in 2013, amendments to Hungary's fundamental law excluded cohabitants and same-sex couples from a fundamental definition of family, having defined marriage as a union between a man and a woman. In 2018, gender studies programs were banned at Hungarian universities, with the government remarking that they wouldn't support constructed identities. Then in 2020, gender recognition was abolished, making it impossible to transition. And finally, further laws were enacted preventing unmarried couples from adopting. And when you consider the First Amendment made back in 2013, this in effect barred same-sex couples from adopting at all. Very, very quickly, a huge number of European leaders expressed grave concern about Hungary's new law. In fact, 17 EU leaders ended up signing a joint letter that, while it didn't mention Hungary by name, was a clear response to the bill passing into law. Macron highlighted that the law doesn't seem to be in line with our values, urging fellow EU leaders to show no weakness in facing down the law and Orbán himself. Merkel condemned the law as plain wrong. Belgium's Prime Minister stressed that the law risks even worse ramifications, saying that it starts with discriminating against LGBT and ends up with silencing people who say what they don't like. Luxembourg's Prime Minister, who's openly gay himself, remarked that the law dangerously conflates homosexuality with paedophilia, appealing to his personal experience and remarking, "I didn't get up one morning after having seen an advert on the TV of some brand and say, I'm gay. That's not how life works." European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen also came out strongly against the new law.
The Hungarian bill is a shame. This bill clearly discriminates against people on the basis of their sexual orientation. and it goes against all the values, the fundamental values of the European Union. And this is human dignity, it is equality, and is the human fundamental rights. So we will not compromise on these principles.
One of the strongest and most potent condemnations, however, came from Mark Rutte, the Dutch Prime Minister, who unequivocally stressed that Hungary has no business being in the European Union anymore, stating that Hungary must either repeal the law or leave the European Union, saying they must realise that they are either part of the European Union and this community of values where no one can be discriminated against and everyone can feel free on the grounds of sexuality, skin colour, gender, whatever, or they must leave. Asked how far Rutte was prepared to go on the matter, he told reporters in Brussels, "My goal is to bring Hungary to its knees on this issue." The issue garnered even greater support and attention in the light of Hungary's final group game against Germany in the Euros Championship. Munich's mayor requested permission from UEFA to light the Allianz Arena in rainbow colours in protest against the new law. UEFA ultimately declined the request due to political context, stressing that the alternative dates for the illumination, which better align with existing events, had been counter-proposed. Orbán has, nonetheless, defended not only the bill, but his own government's handling of LGBTQ+ rights. For Orbán, the bill was about defending the rights of kids and parents, going on to claim that he was a fighter for LGBTQ+ rights while under communist rule, saying that homosexuality was punished, and I fought for their freedoms and their rights, so I am defending the rights of the homosexual guys. But this law is not about that. The law is about to decide what kind of way parents will be able to sexually educate the kids, this exclusively belonging to the parents. So is Hungary going to be kicked out of the EU for its stance? Well, no. That all has to do with how the European Union works. While Rutte was unequivocal in his condemnation, no single member state has the authority to kick another one out. The main punishment mechanism at the heart of the EU is known as Article 7, known by some as the nuclear option. Article 7 can be triggered if there is a clear risk of a serious breach of EU values, with said values being freedom, democracy, equality, the rule of law, and most pivotal here, respect for human dignity and human rights. To progress with removing a country, the European Parliament must vote in support by a 2/3 majority, and the European Council by 4/5. If the breach continues, then a serious and persistent breach can be ruled on, again with a 2/3 majority. The issue here being that the European Council must also vote unanimously to bar the accused country. As we've said on the channel before, both Hungary and Poland are currently facing threats of legal action from the European Union, and thus have formed a mutual support pact. If a vote of the Council ever occurs on a serious and persistent breach by Poland, then Hungary wouldn't support it, causing it to fail, and likewise on a vote of a Hungarian breach. There is, however, potential for some sort of material punishment, the withdrawal of funding. In the aftermath of the adoption of LGBT-free zones in Poland, funding was withdrawn and applications for funding rejected. The European Commissioner for Equality has already highlighted that the EU is prepared to do the same for Hungary. In any case, this is unlikely to be the end of the matter. But what do you think? Should Hungary's continued membership be conditional on them withdrawing this bill? Is it even right for the EU to dictate national policies? Or is this about matters far, far more important than national borders? As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. As I said at the start, videos like this are made possible by our Patreon backers. In return for their support, they get a whole variety of perks, from early access to videos, exclusive live events, merch discounts, and more. Find out what you can get and sign up by clicking the link in the description. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time I release a new video.